man climbing a corporate ladder, a woman climbing a corporate ladder, it's different because a woman, you're naturally going to come home. You've got to deal with the kids. You've got to do the cooking. You've got to multitask. Men are not multitaskers. The stigma around shared ownership comes like people don't understand it. People think you share. You don't share, you own that property. Your name is on land registry. You can buy from as little as £5,000 deposit. You can eventually own 100% of that property. I bought my first property in my early 20s. I didn't go college, I didn't go university, so I don't have any degree.
What advice would you give your younger self that is trying to climb the corporate ladder? Welcome back to another episode of the PBK podcast. Today we have a very special guest, Asha Agarwal. How are you doing?
Oh, that's special. Thank you. I'm fine.
Yeah, special is important.
Thank
Do
you
you know
for
what?
having me.
I've made sure. You see, because me now I'm very serious. I've got my cue cards. Now I know you, but I'm going to give the people a little introduction to who you are. So Asha Agarwal is the award-winning founder of Inspire New Homes, a boutique consultancy that has helped over 1,000 first-time buyers access affordable home ownership. With 2 decades of experience in the property sector, she has led projects for major clients such as Savills, Islington Council, and Shepherd's Bush Housing Group, to name a few. You've been in the industry for a while. You've been very busy, very proactive. But when people talk about property, there's so many different things. So can you just explain exactly what you've done for your tenure in the property space?
So I would say I've been in the property sector for over 25 years,
Mm-hmm.
but I've gone down a different route. So obviously there's a lot of entrepreneurs, self-made property millionaires. I started in a corporate world. So I started working at a housing association and I climbed a corporate ladder in the property. So that was working with developing new homes. I then went on to lead as a sales director at Savills, leading their shared ownership department.
Mm-hmm.
So I work with larger scale developers, housing associations, local authorities that want to build new homes and help first-time buyers get on the property ladder.
Amazing. Then alongside that, you've also built now your own business, 6-figure business, 7-figure property portfolio. How do you find the time?
I'm highly organised, hence why I asked if I could prep or interview notes, hence why you've got your notes there.
Got some notes for me today, exactly that.
I get up early, I'm in the gym, and then I just I'm really organised. I'm on my emails, I'm very organised, everything kind of is structured in what I'm doing, but I work at a very fast rate. So a lot of people do ask me, how do you do it all? But I'm very fast at what I do, and I make quick decisions.
Amazing. Now look, looking at your backstory, and I hope you don't mind me sharing it, that you came from foster care at a point, you were homeless, and then transitioning to being like an award-winning property strategist is incredible. It's inspiring. But what's really kept you motivated along the way?
Do you know what it is? I think when you've you've grown up, I grew up in a council estate. I grew up in a household where English was a second language. I didn't have the latest things. I had friends that would be going out, latest trainers. I must really had my first Reebok trainers when I was 16. My parents couldn't afford to do all that. So for me, I always kind of knew that I wanted a nice, luxurious life, but I didn't know how I was going to do that. So I had obviously very tough challenges, but them challenges made me strong, made me resilient. And yes, I could just be comfortable where I was, but I always wanted more. And I feel like at every stage of life, God kind of put someone in that position to kind of help me just to navigate to the next part of life. And I always I think I was just always ambitious, and I always looked at senior director, especially being in a corporate world. I just wanted to climb that ladder, and I just always wanted to be successful. Didn't know what successful entailed. I never planned to have my own business. I was always kind of working, wanting to climb the corporate ladder. Then the opportunity came. And once I started having my own limited company, I was like, oh, you can make more money here. This is okay. So it was kind of it gave me more of a different direction of life and a different kind of perspective. And I work harder than I've ever worked now, but it's more rewarding because you're doing it for yourself as well.
Oh, for sure. You touched on obviously some different people that you've been blessed to come across along the way. Talk about it. What's some of the people that you really think have helped you in your journey?
I mean, I've had friends come and friends kind of support me, but I've also, in a work capacity, I've kind of met a I've had maybe managers at that time or just people that I've worked in the sector that I've built a relationship with that have kind of inspired me or made me look at life differently. So sometimes you can be fixed on your vision, like, right, this is what you want to do. And it's easy to get complacent. No one really likes change. Like, we're a creature of comfort. But sometimes that next change, that next level is kind of like what you need. And then you get into that role and it's like, so for example, I've climbed a corporate ladder. Every role I've gone into, I've firstly managed upwards. And then I've gone into applied for a role, not really having the experience, but knowing in my head I can do that role.
What do you mean by managed upwards?
So manage my manager upwards. So basically in every kind of role I've had in the corporate world, I had a manager, but I would end up managing that manager upwards, visualizing myself in that role.
You came and started managing my podcast about how I could improve it when you got it. You're a bit of
I was just trying to give you some tips and
bit,
help.
Bit of a bossy boots, but I think it's good. Like, I think
But you listened, you liked my tips, didn't you?
No, they were good tips. I think, like, in many ways, we have to be willing to take criticism. I think that's
100%.
massively important. But I also think a lot of people, like, some people might look at a character trait and be like, oh, Ash, that's a bit bossy, tone it down.
100%.
But I think also you have to play into your strengths. If you know you're good at, like, managing people, you know you're good at seeing opportunities, you don't want to, I guess, dim your light. Like, you have to understand time and place, but also, like, use the strengths that, you know, that you're blessed with. So in terms of, I guess, to take it back a little bit, we're talking about climbing the corporate ladder. Would you say that Savills was your first corporate role? Or
No. So I was working at London and Codgent Housing. That I was there for 6 years, then went to Hired Housing, was there for 7 years, and then went on to Savills.
Okay,
But going back to your strengths, and I think when I went into management, because I am quite like a red direct person, I'm very like get things done, but sometimes people don't always work to that.
Yeah.
So I remember first in management, sales, you do have a lot of high staff turnaround. So there was a stage where staffing were leaving. I'm just like, oh my God. And recruitment, going through like the corporate process of getting approval, getting the job advert out is so long-winded. So I then focused, no, I'm going to focus on staff retention. And again, that's what I mean. So sometimes it's not about dimming your light, but it's about kind of understanding. So I then made a decision, I'm going to now kind of work with my staff and kind of understand them, understand everyone's got their own way of doing things. And it was really interesting because at that time, my staff, 3 of them followed me on all my jobs.
Yeah.
So I became a good manager, but I didn't fall into being a great manager. It was that I had to learn. So it is about taking that criticism and it's about self-improvement.
Oh, for sure. Adapting, I think, is the
Adapting,
key to
yes.
success and personal growth. So look, I mean, you've been in property, like you said, for over 2 decades now. When you were first looking for opportunities, did you kind of stumble into property just looking for a job, or were you actively looking to get a role in the property space?
So I was working in a bank at 17.
Okay.
So I was a cashier in a bank, and I always just thought I'd be in banking. That was a really good job at 17 in a retail bank. I was working at NatWest and Nationwide. And then wasn't really getting paid well. I had my own place at a very young age, at 17, so I had bills to pay at 17. And then I then paid to do CMAP qualification myself because I wanted to be a mortgage advisor. I thought I'd go into a mortgage role and I'd kind of learn, get more money. Retail banking, unfortunately, doesn't pay well. So then one day I was kind of in the petrol station and I was looking at a South London Press newspaper because I'm going back when there was no social media. We had no internet, there was nothing. And there was a job at London and Codgent Housing. So I just applied for this role, and then that is where my career kind of started in property. So again, it wasn't like I didn't ever think I'm going to be an entrepreneur. I didn't think I was going to own this property. I didn't know, but I just knew I wanted to be successful and I knew I wanted more money.
So I think, you know, you said in terms of like your corporate roles, working with the shared ownership division, being able to help thousands of people buy their first home. I think you said that that's probably been your most rewarding,
100%.
most rewarding role that you've done. Where do you think that passion comes from, particularly around the shared ownership space?
So, I mean, in life, they say there's 3 key milestones. So getting married, having a baby, and buying your first home. So to be able to work in a field that you're actually helping someone onto the ladder of home ownership, it's rewarding. So, I mean, when I used to be a sales consultant many years ago, I would meet customers on completion and hand over their keys in their new home. And some of the stories you'd hear, like people in relationships living separately because they couldn't afford to have a place of their own. You would hear of like a relationship breakdown, and then and a woman starting out. And then with shared ownership, it has mixed reviews. So some people
Don't
think,
worry. No, we get onto them.
oh,
We're
okay,
gonna
am
we will.
I taking over,
No,
jumping ahead?
No, you're fine. But it's funny because I was thinking about it. So I was like, I was even consciously thinking, yeah, these are some good selling points you've got, but we're gonna get to the other side.
Okay,
But yeah,
so,
go on,
yeah.
no, you flow. So help to those people. But that's what I was gonna say. As much as
Yes.
you've helped all of these people get onto the property ladder, like a lot of things, there's always the good and the bad.
Yes.
And there is, a sort of negative stigma around
There
shared
is so
ownership
much.
sometimes that is very much for the developer
Yeah.
as opposed to the buyer or the end user. Where do you stand on shared ownership? Do you think it's good, bad? Where are you
I
on?
mean, with shared ownership, so you are working a job. They say the average salary now is about 38,000. It's not a lot of money to go and get a property and to save. Firstly, to go and buy in the open market, I would say you need about 70k plus. If you're trying to live on daily expenses, pay your current rent, how can you save to that? So shared ownership, you can buy from as little as £5,000 deposit.
Let me pause the video for a quick word from our sponsors. Now, let me put you onto something that could seriously level up your property game. When I started investing, I didn't fully grasp the benefits of using a limited company structure. But here's the deal. Over 75% of new UK investment properties are now purchased through limited companies. Now, why? Because it's a more tax efficient way of purchasing. You can claim your mortgage interest reliefs, benefits from lower corporation tax rates, plus it sets you up nicely for scaling your property portfolio and passing on wealth to the next generation. Simply put, it can help you increase your margin. Now, setting up and managing a limited company might sound daunting, but that's where GetGround come in. They handle the entire process for you, from setting up your company in days to managing your accounts and tax returns and ensuring compliance all under one roof. They even help you find financing to help you fund your investments, your own dedicated consultant, and a completely digital dashboard to track and manage the performance of your investments. But because I'm serious about giving back, I've got a great offer for you. GetGround is offering a free investment consultation plus 3 months of free accounting and tax services when you sign up through my link. Now, this is a huge opportunity to get started on the right foot. So if you're serious about building or optimizing your portfolio, then check out the link in the description. Fill out the form for a free consultation and claim your 3 months of free services. Don't miss out on this. You can even transfer existing buy-to-let companies over to GetGround and still take advantage of the amazing offer. Now back to the video.
So all of these people that have bought through shared ownership would never have been able to own their own home. The stigma around shared ownership comes like people don't understand it. People think you share. You don't share. You own that property. Your name is on land registry. You actually own that property. You just literally pay rent on the share you don't own. Now, it can become quite expensive long run if you're paying your mortgage and paying your rent and paying the service charge, but you should be buying with the aim that you are going to eventually do something called staircasing. So staircasing is where you buy more shares in that property, so you can eventually own 100% of that property. Had you gone down the traditional route of buying that property on the open market, you would have to raise 70 to 100 grand to start. Where you've now been able to buy a property with this little as £5,000 deposit, and you can then remortgage and staircase. So you actually only paid £5,000 deposit to buy that property and eventually own 100%.
Yeah, and I think that's what it is. Like when I've kind of gone over the conversations with shared ownership with friends and family that are looking to buy, I'm always like, look, there's a starting point. It depends where you are. Because if you can afford to buy on the open market, then the chances are like, the additional scheme probably isn't going to be for you. But at the point where you don't have that option, it still is a good and viable option, particularly if you mention that you have a long-term plan linked to it in relation to the staircasing. I think my only kind of caveat is always that, look, like, don't just get the shared ownership scheme because you want the new build and because you're not willing to sacrifice on, like, if you've got a good sized deposit
100%.
and the only thing stopping you from maybe buying outright in terms of 100% of the property is that you're not willing to sacrifice not having underground parking or, a gym in the building, or like some things that potentially could be negotiable, that would probably be my only.
But it's also a stepping stone. It's never going to be your forever home. So that's how you've got to look into it. So shared ownership is that stepping stone on a property ladder. You could then get a pay increase in 3 years, sell your home, and then go and buy your dream home.
What's the secondary market like for shared ownership properties?
I mean, It's a process called resales. Normally within your lease, you have the housing association bought form have 8 weeks to find another shared ownership buyer. Because what we want to do is we want to keep people as a shared ownership property. If you can't find someone else to buy it as shared ownership, you can then go on the open market and sell it. And that's 8 weeks later. So it's not difficult to sell.
Okay, so you don't have to share to sell to somebody in shared ownership.
8 weeks
you
first.
can go.
You can, but a lot of providers now are letting that nomination clause go.
Yeah.
So that way you can just sell in the open market. So if you buy a property, it's like just selling through a normal agent. You just instruct your agent, sell your property, and then whatever equity you make on the share that you own, you then get that and go and invest into another property.
Okay, so in terms of like, the exit, you've kind of spoken about some of
Yeah.
the pitfalls that people often speak
Yeah.
about. You've spoken about, the staircasing and also the fact that there is a service charge elements, there is that additional cost. Are there any other pitfalls of shared ownership that people don't consider?
I mean, with this going back to the service charge, so there's a lot of negative around shared ownership service charge. But what's frustrating is that they tie it around shared ownership, but it's nothing to do with actually buying shared ownership. So when you buy a new home building, your service charge is always estimated. So I work really heavily with service charge teams trying to get that service charge as accurate as possible. So for example, if you bought a home in the open market and then your service charge has gone up by £2,000 the next year, you're going to be upset. So basically what's happened this year, a lot of service charge budgets have gone up because obviously you've got energy prices have gone up, rebuild values have gone up, so it's affected service charge. But a lot of people try to put that on the shared ownership, but it's anyone who buys a leasehold apartment, you're going to have that risk.
No, for sure. But I don't know if obviously we're from a similar area, and there was a lot of properties that were built in maybe like around Beckenham, the sort of late 70s, early 80s, that were like these like mini sort of new build blocks.
Yeah.
And at the time they were building these apartments with like swimming pools that are now really dated. The service charge went through the roof, and you got to a point now where people are actually collectively as a block backfilling the swimming pools with cement because they're like, look, no one's using them. We don't want to pay to maintain them. But I think it is just outside of shared ownership, it's something that people really need to consider when buying any property.
Service charges, and people don't at the moment. People just think, okay, this is it. But there needs to be more education around service charge, and they need to sit down with their solicitors and understand what is a service charge budget, what does it entail, and what they should really do when you're buying a home. Look at that service charge budget if it's not new build for the last 3 years. Look at that increment because it should really go up in line with that increment.
Some people are not even looking at it at all. So there's no considerations. They might be buying a property as a buy to let, thinking actually it's going to cash flow me £500 a month. But by the time you've got a £3,000 service charge for the year, now realistically your real net cash flow is only 300 because you've got to put 200 plus towards your service charge. So I think if you are currently looking at buying a property, make sure you are ticking the boxes of, what is my service charge and what's that going to do to not only my bottom line in terms of my monthly, even if you're happy to pay it, another buyer might not be. So it's going to affect your resale ability as well. And
just like I said, just look at the last 3 year service charge increments. That is so important. Go through that with your solicitor.
So whether it's working in, in the corporate world, whether it's running your own business, you've been operating in a very male dominated industry as a woman of color. How have you found that and how have you navigated?
I mean, it's been tough. So for me, obviously I'm a woman of colour. I didn't go college. I didn't go university. So I don't have any degrees. So, I mean, for example, climbing a corporate ladder, a lot of them would have been like kind of Oxford, highly educated. And that was tough. So we was having this conversation earlier. I'm not the greatest report writer, but what I have done is I've built a pool of people around me that help me and support me. So I can put a report together, but I might not have the fine-tuned English and stuff around it, but people will help me support it and rewrite it for me. Going into a male-dominated world has been tough, but I think you've got to have resilience. You've got to have resilience, and going into a room, I've gone into board meetings where I've been challenged with my decisions, challenged with my figures or my targets and stuff, but I've got to stand strong, be resilient. And I think over time, as you grow older, your confidence grows. So as long as you know you're delivering, as long as you know you're good at what you do, I think that naturally flows. But for example, I was having a conversation in every year in March, there's something called MIPIM, and it's in Cannes, and it's all the property developers, all of the...
It's a jolly up.
No, it's not a jolly up. I don't see you there.
I'm not really I mean, I don't, do you know what it is? A lot of people that go there, like, I feel like there's a lot of alcohol consumption. I'm not a
But you don't
drinker.
have to drink.
What do I have? Okay,
I'm not really a
sell
drinker
me
like
on
that.
MIPIN.
So MIPIN is all about building relationships. So in the property world, it's about building relationship, people by people. So it's really, like I said, I never had the education growing up. So it wasn't really, but I'm not the most cleverest person in a room, but I am a relationship builder. I've got common sense. So when you go to MIPIN, you meet people, and if they like you, they want to do business with you.
No, for
So
sure.
unless you're in them rooms, unless you're in that surroundings, people don't get to know you. You can be sending an email, but there's no personality in that email.
So would you recommend I go to MIPIN next year?
Next year, I think you should be at MIPIN and you should be at UK Reef.
All right.
And I want you to then tell me like what new business you have created from that.
I'm going to pledge to go to one of the two. I'm not going to commit to both. I'm not going to overdo it.
All right, UK
but I'm going
Reef.
to pledge to go to either MIPIN or UK Reef and see what business. Because I'm a firm believer in people buying to people.
They do.
And and I think that's really important. So I will make sure I go, and I'll get out of my comfort zone a little bit. We'll do. Another
We're
thing.
going to get you in them rooms.
In the rooms.
We're going to get you in them
In
rooms.
the rooms, yeah, in the
We're gonna
rooms,
do them
round the
deals.
tables,
Yep.
doing some deals.
Yep.
I mean, that's what it's all about. So another question for you, just in relation to obviously navigating these rooms. Now I think you're very authentically yourself.
100%.
Like, you're very much, I am me. I'm not going to try and put myself into a box. But at a younger age, did you ever find yourself kind of trying to assimilate, trying to sound like the people around you because you felt like you had to?
So when I started my career at London Codger, my office was in Eltham.
Mm-hmm.
It was predominantly a white who I worked with. And at that time, growing up in a rough council estate, I wasn't very well spoken. I didn't know how to articulate myself very well. I'd go home in tears. I would literally go home in tears. I just didn't fit in. I didn't understand their culture. I didn't understand their likes. But I had to go into work every day because, like I said, I had my own place at 17. So I was paying council tax, paying bills at a very young age. But what I then did, instead of playing the victim, like people always say, oh, they can't climb the corporate ladder because they can't open them doors. You've got to go in and open them doors. You've got to make room in them rooms. And that's what I did. So what I did learn, I had to learn their culture, learn their way, their likes and where they like to go out to eat, what they like to do on the weekend, which is very different to what I do, but I had to learn their way. And I had to learn to articulate myself and speak better and come across better. But that does come with time, and that does come with age and confidence and just understanding who you are and being true to yourself. And one thing someone said to me in an early stage of my career was two facts. So two key advice someone said to me is, firstly, when you work, stay in that same field and learn that field. So what happens, people change jobs. They either work in retail, might want to go into beauty, or might want to go into property. But every time you change, you're back to beginning learning. So if you stay in that same field like I did in property, I was able to climb a corporate ladder because I became good at property. I understood property in and out. A second advice someone said to me is that always be true to yourself. Mm-hmm. And them two advices stuck with me from a very young age.
Yeah, I think in terms of specialization, not going to mention it again, but I always talk about, I think it's like being really good at one thing
100%.
is way better than being mediocre at a load of things.
Jack of all trades, they say.
Exactly that. The other thing that I would say is, look, I think there's a fine balance, and I think you kind of hit the nail on what you said. It's like you can speak in your accent, but for people to understand you have to speak in their language. So, we can't expect to turn up in Spain and, them to listen to us speaking in English. Like, no one's saying you've got to super put on the accent, but you have to speak in the people's language that you're communicating with. And that transcends into work. Like, you have to talk in a way that works with the culture that you're operating in.
Change. Like, some people think, oh, I am who I am, like me as it is. It's not the right attitude. Yes, you are who you are. And yes, people should like you how you are. But if you want to grow and if you want to get in them rooms, you have to change. So I went to Saudi last year and I was on a speaking panel at Cityscape, which is their largest real estate event. And Saudi's a different market, especially as a woman. Mm-hmm. So going there as a westernized woman, going there, it's very male dominated. But I had to tone myself down because I'm going into somewhere which is very male-led and I'm a woman, westernized. But that's just what you've got to do. If you want to be in them places, you have to tone it down or change, or you can't always be who you are. And that's not a bad thing.
Mm-hmm. No, definitely. Great advice. Talking of advice and people you've helped and been helping, Talk to me about Aspire Together. Inspire Together. What is it?
So Inspire Together is a new coaching initiative that I've launched this year. So basically, I've got to a stage in my life kind of like want to help the next generation. So I've been fortunate enough to have that resilience, go through a challenging kind of early life and being able to navigate that. There's so many people that are going through challenges, don't see that light at the end of the tunnel when there is that light, and you've got to keep pushing, and it's all in your mindset. So for now, I want to kind of support other women with regards to might be in dark times that need a bit of coaching. And in life, you've got like 6 life pillar goals, and I want to support them with regards to where they are now, what they would like to achieve. And
what are these life pillar goals? You're going to give us...
I'll give you some tips. I'll give you some coaching sessions after. Yeah, I'll give you some
No,
coaching.
I can't get some coaching I want to share with the listeners, you know.
So you've got 6 life pillars. So you have your career, you've got love, you've got health. So just things like that. So it's kind of figuring out where you are now and where would you like to be in 12 months, say 12 months. And it's about how do you get there. So I can't tell someone this is what you've got to do, but it's in that mindset. So if you wanted to, like we had a conversation about you've now doing a personal training session and you now want to obviously commit to the PT. So if that was your goal, it's like in a mindset. So what are you going to do in mindset? You're going to get up every day. You're going to be in that gym at 6 a.m. and you're going to be consistent.
Begrudgingly, but yeah, you know.
You're going to lift their weights.
Yeah, apparently so. My body hurts, but I'm committing to it.
Well, mind you, I've met you in the gym. I've never seen you on the gym floor, by the way.
Well, no, like the gym.
I don't see you in the gym floor once in 5 years.
The gym's a big place. Like there's a restaurant.
But you're always in a restaurant.
There's paddle courts. As you know, there used to be badminton. There's a spa. The gym, like there's a swimming pool.
But do you go in a spa, the swimming pool?
The swimming pool, yes. Spa, no. I'm you know, life is about change and growth, and I'm gonna be relaxing more in the spa, working more in the gym.
Part of the coaching,
So
the
it's
6
part
life
of,
pillar.
part of the coaching and part of the pillars. Like I think coaching is really important. I think there's a lot of, obviously in any industry, there's a lot of like rogues, a lot of people that don't necessarily do it in the right way, and there's loads of people that are doing different things. I think, you know, I like to see more women in the coaching space because I work with so many people in the community that are always asking me, like the PBK community,
really?
they're always asking me, you know, we have a very mixed bag, probably 50-50 men and women. But, you know, when we get guest speakers on, a lot of the time it's from, you know, that there are a lot of men because it's a male-dominated industry. So I think it's great that you're getting into that space. How do you manage to balance? Because I guess you can give advice and come from a perspective that as a man I simply can't. Like, how do you manage to balance running a successful consultancy firm, obviously Inspire, whilst, you know, being a single mother?
A lot of people ask these questions. I mean, like I said at the beginning, I'm very organised. I'm quite lucky that my daughter's, obviously, she's a teenager now, so she's a bit more self-sufficient. But I think I've always had a support network around me. So I've got great parents that support me. And obviously, I've got a pool of friends that I rely on that can help me and stuff. So she's quite self-sufficient now, but it's about that balance. So I go away with her a lot because even though we live together, we don't really have that time because sometimes I leave out when she's still sleeping and I'm back home when it's time for bed. So sometimes I don't get to give her that time, but we do go away on holiday a lot because then we're stuck in a room together and we spend that time and we talk. And it's really important for me to be a mum to her, to lead by example. So I want her to have her own, be independent. So I want to be a great role model to my daughter. But it is really tough, but you have to kind of make sense. So I'm very selective, very precious of my time. I count for every minute of my time. So for me, if I'm out networking, socializing, before I go to a network event, I already know who I want to target. So for me, I'm not just going somewhere to have a drink or whatever. I know that I'm going there for a purpose. And I think people forget that. So networking is very important to grow your business and to meet people, but you've got to have a strategy around it. You can't just turn up somewhere and just expect it to go. You've got to kind of like suss out the room, who's going to be there, look at the attendance list prior and just plan it all ahead.
You do all of that. I see. Look, this is what I'm saying. I need to get better. I just turn off.
Well, we had this conversation, didn't we,
Yeah.
yesterday?
But and also like, I think I turn up and I'm in a fortunate position where a lot of people talk to me
Yeah.
without me going to probably
Yeah, but
talk
you've
to the
got to try and
people
talk to the people that's
that
going
I
to
need,
help
that I
you.
need
You're
to
helping
talk
these
to.
people, which is great.
Yeah.
That's your giving back. That's your doing good in life. But what about you? Where do you navigate to the next chapter? Where you need to get to the people that's going to help you navigate to the next stage.
No, for sure. Definitely, like I said, I'm more than happy to take some constructive criticism on board. Look, you've spoken at some in international and chaired prestigious panels. How do these experiences influence your approach back home?
So going back to that Saudi story, so going to Saudi was quite scary, but I saw an opportunity. I got invited to attend, to be at this event. I think that the world is such a big world, and you've got to go to different places and see how other people do things. So, for example, I went to Saudi. I specialize in sales and marketing strategy. So I specialize in off-plan sales, hoardings, brochures, all of that stuff. Saudi's next level. I mean, the marketing they do, the digital, the CGIs that they do, it's out of this
Like
world.
when you're going to the mall and they would have built the city like with the lights, with
But
like literally
they've got the
working,
wall, and then you can see it all. He put his glasses on, and you can see everything.
Oh, they do that.
No,
They
so
go
you're
into
in this
full-on
room. I had the glasses
VR.
on, and I'm actually like, it feels like I'm living there already, and
wow.
it's not even been built. It's still on the ground.
And I think that's the importance of exposure. Like it shows you what is possible, what more can be done.
Yeah.
And then you can see how that works there, but maybe wouldn't work here. But this, I know we can implement this and then become an early adopter in our own space.
And you have to be innovation's a big thing. So especially for me, working in sales and marketing and property, you have to understand what your competitor's doing. You have to be willing to change. If you stay the same, then how can you be ahead of your competitors? So you have to always be one step ahead, looking at new ideas, new ways of selling the homes. Because when I first started in shared ownership 25 years ago, we had queues for properties. So they were the days, I mean, you had queues. You didn't have to do any marketing. People were wanting to buy properties. Now, as developers, you need to now do a lot of marketing strategies because there's so much demand now. So buyers now have choices where before the new homes market was like you went to buy a new home. The second-hand market now is so oversaturated that it's affecting the new homes market because buyers have got so much choice. And buyers will go to a developer and it's like they've got a checklist. I should be getting this incentive. I should be getting that incentive. So there's so much more choice and competition out there now.
I think that's it. I think definitely like when you look at like for me personally as a developer, I always prided myself on the luxury finish. Now, the big developers have stepped up to the point that they're doing bespoke bathrooms. They're not going just basic brick style tiles, call that a bathroom. Like, so you have to be competing at every level, whether that be.
But we're looking at that now. So basically what was happening is developers were building like a Rolls Royce standard. But basically it's all good, but people can't afford it. The rates have gone up, build costs has gone up, so people can't afford it. So now developers are having to bring down things and be in line with competition to make it more affordable.
Yeah, and you've got to find that balance. Obviously, it's like you've got to realistically build to your target demographic. You have to think about their own budget versus what's on the market, what's going to present good value and value for money for the end user.
So how do you do it when you do it?
So I think my main thing is that I always have an idea of, because we're developing, whether it's just refurbishing a single unit or maybe doing a small conversion scheme of 4 to 9 units. But we're already thinking like, what does our target demographic look like in this area? Is the size of this property, if it's going to be a 2-person 2-bed, chances are it's going to be a young professional couple as opposed to a young family. So we're more than likely going to go for a wet room, luxury wet room than a small bathroom. And just those little, intricacies of, okay, you know what, you've got a smaller living room. So what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that the washing machine is in the utility cupboard so that you've got that extra space of storage. We're going to actually, because of the layout of the kitchen, we're going to put the cooker in the island so that you can face guests and it feels more inclusive. And I think really thinking about the design flow and end user, when there's so much on the market, you want your property to be the one where you just give them from first impressions, from walking in, how it leaves you. It's yes, yes, yes. because you really need those three
Yeah.
yeses to get a sale.
Yeah, and like I mean, I was working at on off plan. We had 98 private sale units at Finsbury Leisure Centre, and out of that, I think there was like 49 two beds, 6 with ensuite. That doesn't work.
Yeah, like
But
in the
it
market
doesn't-
now, when there's a lot of
it doesn't work.
competition.
So we had to then literally look at all these plans before it even went to planning. How do we create more spaces? But we needed to get the 90 so amount units in there. So it was like literally making sure 6 ensuite is not going to work because people are not going to buy now. They want it ensuite.
Yeah, and
because
you
they've
have
got
to
families.
think it's market trends are
Yeah.
important to work with them. So obviously, with your business being successful, the corporate life being successful, why was it still important for you to, you know, invest in property and have your own property portfolio?
So I was quite lucky. I bought my first property in my early 20s. So I got into the property ladder quite an early stage. But do you know what's quite interesting? I was having this conversation with someone the other day. So I was fortunate enough to buy my properties when I was actually employed PAYE in the corporate world. It was so much easier to get a mortgage because you've got a 3 months paycheck, you've got guaranteed income. Now that I've gone on my own business for the last 5 years and set up my own as a limited company, it's really difficult getting a mortgage now.
Yeah, it's tougher. Like
For residential anyway, yeah.
especially post-COVID. So before COVID, you used to be able to
Oh,
use.
I could just go to a lender, get a mortgage, as long as I've got a deposit. It was easy.
Yeah, and even without like that, you could use like retained profits as like, you know, as a limited company, as a sole director to like buffer your income effectively and affordability. Obviously, lenders' appetites towards risk have dropped.
Yep.
It's starting to see a slight comeback, but it's not the easiest. And that's why, you know, when people are bashing like, you know, I want to get into property, but I want to quit my job, I'm always like,
no, and that's why I was having this conversation.
find
Like,
the
don't knock a
balance.
PAYE. So basically, a really good bit of advice is that in a household, one should be self-employed and the other should be PAYE, because a self-employed will never have a clear head. And the PAYE will have that work-life balance, so it balances out the household. And obviously, if you need to get a mortgage, you need to get further borrowing, it's easier for the person on PAYE to get it.
No, for sure. What advice would you give to like, you know, a young woman, you know, like, you know, that maybe as your younger self that is trying to climb the corporate ladder?
One bit of advice, keep going. Learn to ask questions. So how I was, like I said, when I said earlier about managing upwards, ask the questions, understand what that next role entails, understand your field, be committed. You can't expect to go somewhere and think, all right, I'm going to be in at 9:05, I'm leaving at 5 o'clock on the dot. You've got to put in the hours. You've got to put in the work. You've got to be committed. You've got to show that you want to progress, and you've got to apply for them roles. So just take the risk, apply for them roles. I've had interviews rejected. I've had numerous. I've been to interviews and they're like, I thought I've done a great interview. I can do this role. And I've been told, no, sorry, I've not been getting it. But it didn't stop me. I've still applied. So I'm in one position. I literally applied for different organisations. I must have done 4 positions in different organisations, got rejected. The 5th time it worked.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. You miss every shot you don't take. So you have to take those
And it's
shots.
not personal. Don't make anything personal.
It's
Nothing's personal.
You know what? I don't think anyone said that on this pod in 120 episodes. And I think that's so important.
It's
like
not.
people love to take stuff personally.
No, you
Like,
gotta be
oh, they
resilient,
don't
though.
like me. They don't not like you. Maybe somebody was just
So
better
what? So
today.
what if they don't like
And even if they
you?
don't, it's not the end of the
cares?
world. Like, it's not personal. If somebody doesn't, if you go and do an amazing pitch and you feel like somebody wasted your time, so what? Pitch to them again next week. They might say yes.
When I was at Savills to pitch for new clients,
Yeah.
and I got rejected, and then some of them I won.
Yeah. And I think that's really, really good advice. That listen, it's not that deep, it's not that personal. Dust yourself off and go again, because the next time might be the one that goes in. Look, Inspire New Homes Group. What is next for you in terms of growth and impact?
So, what's next for me now is offering training and mentoring within Inspire New Homes in property in the corporate world. So I want to kind of help the next generation teach them how to sell properties, how to climb that corporate ladder, how to build up resilience. Something that I've recently joined is a board of women in social housing.
Nice.
So that's kind of like working more with like women in social housing, how to kind of help them climb the corporate ladder, more networking event, just to help build confidence. Because as women, it can be, I'm a woman myself, it can be difficult. Like you said, going into a room with male, a man climbing a corporate ladder, a woman climbing a corporate ladder is not, it's different, because a woman, you're naturally going to come home, you've got to deal with the kids, you've got to do the cooking, you've got to multitask. Men are not multitaskers. Men can, not majority of them. Men.
No, I can
So you
multitask, just not well.
Women do it well.
Like I can't be, you see, if I'm on the phone,
Yeah.
you know that I'm on WhatsApp at the same time. Like
Yeah.
I can't mask it, like
Yeah,
because
but women
I
do
lose
it.
my focus.
Yeah, I can cook, clean, do my emails at the same time, be doing a phone
Simultaneously.
call, because that's what we have to do. So it's tough for a woman to climb a ladder or get promotions than it is with men. And still, in organisation, the stats are still really low. There's men, it's very men at the senior. And that's something that I'm working with boards and trying to encourage more women of colour especially, but more women onto senior leadership roles.
No, for sure. I mean, look, that's amazing. And it just, I'm sure everyone will be very appreciative of the hard work that you're putting in. Some light-hearted questions now, because, you know, I've been very serious.
Have we been serious?
Not serious, but, you know, it's been inspirational, motivational, which I love. But I wanted to ask you, if Inspire Homes had a mascot, what would it be and why?
When you say mascot, what do you mean? Mascot?
Like a mascot, you know, like a representative, like a, you know what a mascot is?
I did tell you I'm not that very good.
I don't know how. Do you know what's so funny though? But like, no, now the onus is on me, and like, I don't know how to.
You can't even describe. Can you ask a question?
Yeah,
You
because
can't
I'm
even
trying to
describe.
think of like an example of a mascot.
Yeah, but what is a mascot? What do you mean?
So like, like I think like sort of compare the market mascot is like the meerkat. Like I don't know why that represents them.
What's the PBK one?
So okay, so I'll do mine as an
do
example.
yours, okay.
So I think if the PBK had a mascot.
I don't think mascot's the right word though. So
No,
we'll look at a dictionary after.
It is the right word. Check that out. Like timestamp this. I feel like it would be like a raccoon. Like it would be. It's like they're quite lovable and cute, but also it's a bit of a rogue and a bit weird as an animal.
So are we talking animals now?
Do you know what? Just forget this question. We're gonna put that in a bit.
Well, I will
add. Do you know
why I called it Inspire New Homes.
Yeah.
So basically, Inspire. A lot of my clients are smaller developers or clients that don't have the in-house expertise. So I go in to inspire them how to get their sales and marketing strategies like the big dogs. But also I called it Inspire New Homes because I want people to buy their first home. So it's inspiring to be able to buy your new home.
Okay. If anyone off the back of that description can help you with your mascot, please let us know in the comment section. What's one fun or interesting fact about you that people don't know?
Oh, interesting fact about me. Oh, I don't know actually.
So you only did prep for all the serious questions. You didn't do any prep for any.
No. I mean, social butterfly.
Yeah. Feel like
I've
people know
come
that.
across as an extrovert, but I'm actually, as I'm getting older, becoming an introvert. I'm starting to like peace and quiet and not so much noise around me.
Fair enough. Last question. If you were designing your dream home, what is one feature that it would have to have?
If I was driving, I mean, a dressing room standardly. A wine cellar. A wine cellar with like the top nice wines.
Okay.
Just to like show it off. I think that's got a bit of like class to it. Like
I saw a nice one, a guy called Akash, I can't remember the name of his development company, was done some nice projects out in Clapham, and two of them had two really different nice, like not full-on wine cellars, but you know, like the wine glass display cooled cabinet under the stairs. And that looked really
I've
nice.
got one in my kitchen now. It's a big one on the wall.
Oh, nice. So you want to go from the kitchen
I wanted to
to
go
the
like
full...
I want the spiral
the
staircase
spiral
that goes
staircase
down with the
going
glass.
Yeah, no, I can imagine, I can envisage it. Look, I think it's been amazing having you on. I think it's really important to talk about market trends and where you see things going. With the market as it is, where do you see the shared ownership and, first-time buyers market going, particularly bearing in mind a lot of the government new homes initiatives?
Well, the government have got a target to deliver 1.5 million. Interestingly, I don't know if you know this, but new home construction was down by 56% this year. So it's really worrying because the government have now given this target to deliver new homes. Shared ownership is needed because it's the only way to get onto the property ladder. Ideally, the government needs to bring something back like Help to Buy back, but it's interesting because Help to Buy helped people get on the property ladder, but it also helped the developers because what it done, the developers started increasing their values because they had a demand.
Yeah, even when the developers didn't increase, the buyers increased because there was a limited pool of these new
But it's like that
properties.
fear of missing out, isn't it? It's like everyone thought, oh my God, I've got to get this and stuff like
Yeah.
that. But the government need to kind of bring in another initiative back because people need to buy. People need to get on the property ladder. Rental prices obviously are rocketing high, but they now seem to be sturdy. And you've got you've got build to rent, you've got obviously a lot of PRS, a lot of other rental products coming out. But what's interesting, I think in the UK, people are now trying to adopt the American mindset. An American mindset is that they prefer the renting and buying. So they prefer like where you can go in somewhere, rent for a little bit, and then you could rent out. There's a product, I can't remember what it's called now, it's gone out of my head, but there's a product that developers are now building where you can rent studios and then they've got your co-working space downstairs, co-living, that's
Yeah, the
it.
co-living spaces.
Co-living.
Yeah.
But that's becoming quite popular now.
Yeah.
Because people want to just go in, rent for a little bit, move on. They don't want to be in a one place. So it's interesting that I think we still have the mindset that you need to own a property, you have to own a property, but people are coming away from that now.
I think generationally, definitely there's a switch, and you see it from some of the most successful industries at the moment are all based around short-term convenience.
Yeah.
So whether you look at Deliveroo, whether you look at Uber, whether you look at Airbnb, they're all about don't own a timeshare, don't necessarily get the chef, don't get a car. We can just give you short-term convenience. So I think it's interesting, and I think that's the thing about the property market. It's constantly developing, evolving, and it's really our job as the people within it to adapt to these evolutions within the industry. Look, it's been amazing having you on. If people want to connect with you, if people want to get in touch and find out more about your business and what you do, how can they reach out?
LinkedIn, Asha Agarwal, or Asha Agarwal on Instagram.
Yeah. Amazing. Look,
Thank
that has
you.
been another episode of the PBK podcast. If you think this would help somebody, if you know there's somebody that needs to get on the property ladder, make sure you send this episode to them. If you haven't already, make sure you subscribe. We'll be back next week with another episode. Peace.